This is the team that I think will be the FPL template come game week 1. And let's also have a look in today's show at what last season's template looked like and how much that might cost this time round. We're going to need loads of money that we simply won't have. Let's get started with a team that I think many of us will go towards in a couple of weeks' time as we gear up for game week 1. So first and foremost, let's have a look at the teams we'll be identifying, right? The team you're about to see will include a couple of Man City players. It will include a couple of Brighton players. Both these teams have got good fixtures, as do Arsenal. We'll see a couple of Arsenal players. We'll also have a couple of United players in there because, again, these are teams that have good fixtures, they're good teams, or they're popular teams. And we know a lot of FPL managers will gravitate towards the likes of Man United because they're the most followed team in the country. So let's go to the formation. You'll be saying, Gianni, why would you set up with a 4-4-2? Everyone sets up game week 1 with a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. Well, I think this season might be a little bit different and many of us might go for a 4-4-2. And the reason being, I think we'll question the fourth defender in our teams being able to get more points than the third forward in our teams. So, for example, we might say my fourth defender would be someone like an Estupiñán, right? Or at times at the end of last season, it was someone like a Luke Shaw. And they're going to clock more points than the third forward that isn't always guaranteed to start and doesn't score very often. So that might be a conversation we're having. So look, let's indulge me here. We're going to go for a 4-4-2. Let's start off with the goalkeeper. So I've gone for Ramsdale in goal, and the reason being is I think he's going to be a cheap route to the Arsenal backline. Now, Arsenal kept loads of clean sheets at the start of last season. That fell off towards the second half of the season. I think Arsenal defenders, many of them will be priced at 5.5 million. Well, I'm hoping Ramsdale is under that. And at 5.0, I think he's a really good entry to that backline. He'll get the save points, the fixtures are there, he'll get the clean sheets, and he'll be paired with a 4.0 bench fodder option, right? The 4.5 rotating keepers is often a popular choice, but if we have someone like a Ramsdale at 5.0, I think we'll all go there. So fingers crossed he's 5.0. If he's 5.5, then I think it will be those two 4.5 keepers. So Ramsdale in goal. Let's now have a look at the defenders, and there's a fair few fullbacks in here. Remember, I'm going for a back four. We'll do the starting 11 first, then we'll do the bench options. So Trent, 7.5. He ended last season so well. He ended last season playing in that inverted midfield role. And as soon as we saw that, us FPL managers were like, yeah, he's that little bit higher up the pitch. He's that little bit more central for more shots. Fair enough, the assist rate may dip, but the goal threat absolutely rises. And we saw that last time round towards the end of last season. So Trent, I think he'll be 7.5. And I think he's going to be in everyone's team come game week 1. Really hoping he's not more than that. I don't think he should be. I think 7.5 is fair because Liverpool didn't keep a huge amount of clean sheets and he had a poor start to the season last time out. We're going to go Luke Shaw at 6 million, a predicted price there from me. Set piece threat is good. United fixtures are all right. Luke Shaw, bonus points magnet, dependable as well. I think he'll be very popular come game week 1. And there are defenders that haven't made this 11 that I think, if the pricing's right, could also be popular. You know, potentially your Spurs fullbacks, someone like Pedro Porro. Your Chelsea fullbacks, if they're priced low, we could see Reece James or Chilwell at 5.5. If they have a good pre-season, maybe they'll get the love. But at the moment, I'm going with the tried and tested. This is not my team. This is not my draft. This is what I think will be the template come game week 1. They're very different things. I'll have a draft video out in the not too distant. Don't you worry about that. As soon as the game's released, my draft video will be up on this YouTube channel. And guys, make sure you're liking and subscribing. Thank you for supporting the channel. So Trent, Luke Shaw. Now, Estupiñán finished the season so well. Brighton have got such good fixtures. He's got real goal and attacking threat, assist threat, especially. If Estupiñán is 5.0 as I'm predicting, I think he'll be in the template team. He could be 5.5 and that will put us off. But if he's 5.0, I've got Estupiñán in this team. I've also gone John Stones. Again, a little bit more goal threat, playing in the midfield role, inverted fullback. He's not going to be a Trent for attacking threat, but he'll be cheaper than Trent, 5.5-ish million. He'll pick up loads of clean sheets. He's one of Pep's go-tos. He's one of Pep's favourites. A good route to that Man City back line. I'm expecting clean sheets aplenty. So there we have our back four. And I question someone like an Estupiñán or a Stones, that fourth defender could be really good value. How many forwards that cost 5 or 5.5 will clock up regular, consistent points? I can't name any. I know Estupiñán and John Stones will. Hence the argument for 4-4-2. Now, let's start with that midfield. We're going to start with a couple of assets that I think will be 9.0. They both could be 9.5, and if they are, this draft doesn't work. I've spent 100 million with this draft, right? So it's Rashford and it's Saka. We're going to talk about these guys together. Both will have big price rises. Rashford, a huge one, right? Saka, of course, was 8 million last season. He started the season. Rashford started at 6.5. I'm hoping they both come in at 9. It could be a little bit more than that. So Rashford and Saka will be popular because the penalty appeal, good teams, good fixtures. Rashford could even play as the number 9 quite regularly. Depends if United buy a striker, of course. But whether he's left or central, Rashford will get points. And Saka, when we look at some of the Arsenal signings, we might worry about some of the minutes for some of our wide forwards. We might worry about Martinelli being absolutely nailed week in, week out. Personally, I think Martinelli and Saka and Odegaard are absolutely fine for minutes, but I have seen people speculating, well, Saka we know will play every minute, right? So a good pick and the most consistent and reliable, what feels like the most reliable Arsenal attacker. So Rashford and Saka in. You'll notice there's no Mo Salah in this team. And I don't think we can have him if we go for Rashford and Saka, because then we're looking at that sort of 9 to 10 million price point. And if we've got Haaland, you know I'm going to show you Haaland in a minute, then we probably can't have Salah and that 9 million price point times 2. So this draft is minus Salah. Now you could accommodate a Salah if the next slot becomes a 5-6 million asset. But this next slot is reserved for an 8.5 million midfielder. You could call it an 8 million mid, right? We're going to go 8.5 because I've got the money to spend here. So this is a Maddison spot. It could be an Nkunku spot. Last season, there was loads of 8 million mid options. I remember we all started the season going, do we go Mount? Do we go Kulusevski? Do we go Saka? Do we go Maddison? And this year, I think it'll be similar. And we'll probably want to cover that price point. So 8.5. I'm going to show James Maddison here on screen. And I'm doing that because in the Spurs shirt, we expect returns. If Harry Kane's not at Spurs, I don't want Maddison in my team, right? Not for game week 1 anyway. If Harry Kane stays, Maddison's a good pick. If Nkunku comes in at 8.5 as a midfielder, he could be listed as a forward, then I think Nkunku will be in my team. Will he be in the template? I'm not so sure. He probably has to score loads pre-season. But with Havertz leaving Chelsea, who's going to be on penalties? I think we could see Nkunku on pens. He's got a really good penalty record. Reece James could even step up on pens. But Nkunku on pens, if he's a midfielder. Now, he played, and you'll see from a couple of shows ago, I looked at Nkunku's numbers, played a lot last season as the second striker. If he's playing that number 10 role in a 4-2-3-1, which is what we expect from Poch, then surely FPL price him as a midfielder. I really hope they do, and I hope he's not overpriced. Because Chelsea assets didn't deliver last season, I think Nkunku could have a fairly modest price tag. So it'll be Nkunku or Maddison, the 8.5 mid slot. Call it what you want for this team. And then we're going to look at the fourth midfielder slot in terms of the starting 11. And for me, that'll be like a 6.5 mid, which I hope Matoma comes in at. So many are speculating Matoma could be a 7 million price bracket. I think he'll be 6.5. And if he's not, you could look at someone like a Solly March and potentially one of them will be 6.5. But let's go with Matoma here. Brighton have got the fixtures, regular starter. Good value for money. Good value for money. And Brighton will score loads of goals. We know they create a ton of chances. And if you're not covering Brighton attack, I think you'll probably be looking to do that come game week 1. So we've got Estupiñán and Matoma in my 11. It's the Brighton left-hand side, isn't it? And then we have, and this is a 4-4-2 formation, the front two. So let's look at those forwards and then we'll show the bench. And of course, coming up, we're going to show last season's template. I'm going to show you how much that cost and then how much it costs this time round. It's a big difference. Up front, let's start with the obvious. Haaland's going to be in everyone's team come game week 1. It doesn't matter if he's 12 million or 14 million. He's going to be in all our teams. He really is, because he's the legit captaincy option. Unless he gets injured, he's going to be in all our teams. He's the one we're going to be captaining most weeks. We'll spend the money, right? And even if you're thinking I might go without Haaland, come game week 1, you'll probably get fear of missing out, FOMO, and go, I'm bringing him in. Now, fair play for those that consider it, but for me, we know he'll be in my team. He's going to be in the template team, right? So Haaland, there's not an argument there. I think he'll be 13.5. Loads think he'll be 14. I'd be surprised if they go that high. I would like to see him at 13 or 13.5. I'll tell you what, 14 might make for a more interesting game than perhaps managers do go without. But for me, it'll be 13.5, which is a million more than I think Salah will be and a million more than I think Kane will be. They'll be the two other premium options. But at the moment, this team is kind of one absolute premium. If we're saying premiums are 10 million and above, and then you've got your just under 10 millions, your Rashfords and your Sakas. So whereas last year everyone had two of those really expensive players, a Kane and a Haaland or a Salah and a Haaland, this year I think it's just going to be one and then loads of the sort of mid to upper price platform players. Let's have a look at that last slot then. It's going to be, I've got 6.5 to spend on my 11. Someone like an Mbeumo. Now, he did so well with Tony out at the end of last season. He does do way better in the team when Tony's not playing. He'll also very likely be on penalties without Tony. Brentford have got good fixtures. I think he'll be in everyone's team. We might take a punt on Visser. We could see them both starting. Visser, I think, was a midfielder last year. I think he'll probably be reclassified this time round. And again, Mbeumo could be a midfielder, but I think he'll probably be a forward. So that's where we're at with our 11. Let's have a quick look at the bench. I'm not going to give you players here. I'm going to give you price points. We don't really care about who's on the bench at the moment, and we don't know who's going to be at the price points for the bench. But a 4 million keeper if you've got a Ramsdale, a 5.5 million forward I've gone with, but that could be a 5.5 million midfielder because the other slot to that is a 4.5 million midfielder or a 4.5 million forward. But let's go 5.5 forward. And last season there were a few options at that price point. I think Dom Solanke was around that, maybe slightly less. And then a 4.5 mid, there's always loads of 4.5 mids bench fodder. And then a 4.0 defender. There is always one that starts. There's always a 4. I think back to John Lundstrom. Last season we had like Nathan Patterson and we had Nico Williams. There will be a 4.0 defender, probably from a newly promoted club, that starts. And it'll probably be a Luton player, right? He'll be in all our teams. So this is my template 11 come game week 1. It'll be really interesting to see, one, how accurate this is come game week 1. But two, how many of these players are in my team? Because I think a fair few of them will be. And I don't like being template. But look, the 4-4-2 idea isn't template to start with, so that's good. Let's move on now to last year's template team. Now, this is the template team that kind of finished last season, if you like. But it started the season with the price points you can see listed. And that equates to 99.5 million. So let's run through it before I show you how much that would cost this time round. So the keepers that were really popular last year, Pope and Raya. I think they scored... I think Raya was the top point scorer. Pope was like the 4th top point scorer, right? The back line, this is a 3-5-2, by the way. The back line is a starting 3 of Trippier, Trent and Shaw. They were in everyone's team at some point last year. If Stupinan is on the bench and then Nico Williams, it could be Patterson, right? The midfield 5 kind of picks itself from last season. We all owned all these players at some point, I'm sure. Some of us owned all these 5 together. Rashford, Salah, Saka, Matoma and Martinelli, right? God, some of those players are underpriced. I think Matoma started the season at 5 million, Saka at 8, Rashford at 6.5. Salah did start at 13. He's the only one that I think will go the other way, not have a rise, have a drop. Martinelli started the season at 6 million. And then up front, the template for a lot of last season, certainly the second half, was Haaland and Watkins. I'm going to put Mitrovic on the bench because at some point we all own Mitrovic. So the bench players in this 11 would be Mitrovic, Stupinan and Nico Williams. But this team on screen, unbelievably, to start the season, cost under 100 million. We're never having a team that good this year. One, because all these players have massively... going to have price rises, or most of them. But two, I don't think FPL will make the same... You could call it a mistake. Maybe it was a conscious decision, but possibly a mistake over someone like a Rashford being a 6.5 or a Martinelli being a 6. they're going to be a bit tighter with prices this year. They have to be, because last year, this team, in my opinion, was just too easy to pick, and the template was so strong. Now, hopefully this time round, the template's not going to be strong at all, because we've got so many options. We can't have Salah and Haaland. We can't have too many mid-price midfielders. We can't have all the good defenders. Last season, I think this team shows we could have a damn good team. Now, you could argue the prices did go up throughout the year, and we couldn't end the season on this team. We could start it, but you only have to make one sacrifice. You know, put Martinelli down to bench fodder, and you've got yourself a good 11, or put Mitrovic down to Solanke, and you've got yourself an 11. But how much will this team cost this time round? So it's 99.5 million currently. Well, I think this squad of 15 to start the new season will cost 115 million. We're going to get nowhere near it, which I love, right? And you might say, really, Gianni? Well, let's have a look at some of the prices. Pope, 5.5, right? And Raya, 5.5. Maybe one of them's 5, but probably both 5.5. The defenders, Trippier's going to have an increase. Trent will stay the same, probably. Estupinan, maybe a small increase. Luke Shaw's going to have a big jump. Nico Williams will go up a little bit, right? They're the 5 defenders. The midfielders are where you get the big rises, though. Rashford's going to be so many more million than 6.5. I'm going with a 9. Salah might have a little drop. Saka's going to have at least a million rise. Matoma's going to have at least a million, probably 1.5 or 2 million rise. Martinelli's going to have a 2 million plus rise. I'm going for 8.5. The forwards, Haaland's going to go up a couple of million. Watkins will go up at least 500,000. Mitrovic surely goes up too. Like, this team, we're getting nowhere near. We're getting nowhere near. And I like it. I'm here for it. Let us know, guys, if you think that, like, how many of these players will be in your team. If I go and look at the template team versus this team, there's a fair few players that miss out. You can't have that luxury of 5 consistently good players from good teams in that midfield. Like, that midfield it's United, Liverpool, Arsenal, arguably the 3 most dangerous players from those clubs in the midfield. Brighton's most dangerous player in Matoma, you could argue. And then Arsenal's, like, star boy in Martinelli. Like, that 5. And then you've also got Haaland and Trent. Yeah, and Watkins. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I love the fact that this team is going to be really difficult to get to. And I look forward to seeing how many of these players are in my Game Week 1 team. I'll be posting my team reveal very, very soon for my first draft Game Week 1 as soon as that game is announced. And guys, if you are interested in more pre-season content, I've done an ultimate guide to FPL. Everything from fixtures to the new managers coming in and how they play and how they set up to players and teams I'll be targeting when the game is launched. So go check that video out next. I'll see you very soon. Thanks for subscribing. Go well.